ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। उकारस्वन्दकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Very good morning. So today in this series of Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada's work related discussions or vichara, we shall pick up one of the very important aspects within the Vedanta Sampradaya, which is Panchakosha Viveka. And we shall look at this Panchakosha Viveka in the context of what Sri Bhagavad Pada has commented as part of the Taittiriya Upanishad Brahmananda Valli, which is where this Panchakosha Viveka obtains as part of the Vedanta literature. Okay, using terms like literature and all that, but let us look at this as we move along. But just as an introduction, I just wanted to give the context of the frame within which we shall be discussing today. So before we get into what Acharya says and what is there in Upanishads and all that, I just want to introduce what is this Panchakosha as it is normally understood in the parlance of spiritual seekers. So if you read any of the online discourses or material which is available in paperbacks, Panchakosha is presented as 5 sheaths within a human body. The 5 sheaths are typically described as a physical body. Then you have that is the Annamaya Kosha. Then Pranamaya Kosha, which is the energy body. The third is the Manomaya Kosha, which is typically translated as emotional body. Then Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is translated as a wisdom body. People give slightly different variants of it, but generally that is how it is looked at. And finally, the Anandamaya Kosha, which is translated as the bliss body. Okay. With this, I will just stop sharing and let us. One second. Okay. So, if this is what is the Panchakosha, the question would be, what are we trying to say here? This is a Vedanta talk, right? Now, why should we talk about this Panchakosha? Let's say there is this view that there are 5 sheaths within a human body. So what? What has it to do with Vedanta? Would be the question. Because we need to understand the basic element of what Vedanta is trying to address. So are we is that the question for any seeker would be, are you talking religion or are you talking some science? So when you say religion, you come and tell me, okay, this is the God, this is how I need to pray, this is how I need to behave, these are good things, these are set of things you should do, these are set of things you shouldn't do, this is how you should meditate, and this is how you reach God, heaven, whatever. So that could be one thing to look at. Yeah, I can understand. You come and teach me something like this, that's fine. As a religious person, I'm okay to learn that. So this doesn't fall under that bucket, right? Definitely not. We are talking about some 5 sheets. What has it to do with religion? Doesn't seem to fit there. The other option is either you are a scientist or you are doing some research. Then you come and tell me, okay, this is how the world is. Your body has, a mind which is a product of your brain, and this is how your breathing takes place. All that, right? That's fine. You're a biologist or a doctor or an anatomician, whatever, right? They come and talk about all this. I'm okay to understand that. But here we are talking Vedanta, and then this 5 sheets. And you are saying there is a sheet called mind, emotional sheet, all that, right? We know mind is a product of brain, and then prana seems to be breathing is a function of your lung, and the medical science has much more advanced research conducted on this, and they treat your lung issues, they treat all these things, so they seem to know more. So what is this context of talking about Panchakosha in a Vedanta lecture? Why should even a Shastra talk about this? That would be the question. Now, to understand this, we need to first understand who is the audience. Then we can come to what is being taught. Who are we trying to address? What is the problem that Vedanta is trying to address? Then we can come to why this Panchakosha is. The audience for Vedanta, when we say Vedanta, it is the Upanishads and all this spiritual, we all know. I don't want to well deep into it, but Vedanta is the end portion of Veda, which focuses on the Atmavastu or Brahman. Okay, so that is Vedanta, but we'll come to that a little later also. But now, who is the audience? Who are we trying to address here? The audience, the recipient of this, is a person who recognizes that there is a fundamental problem that one is trying to address. There is some fundamental problem in me. Why? Because I seem to be always dissatisfied, except for some moments of happiness. I am more or less unhappy. As a human, I am unhappy. I seem to be always wanting to change something around me. I want to change my ecosystem. I want to change the people around me. I want to change myself. I want to acquire something so as to be comfortable. I am looking for some wealth. I am looking for some security, emotional security, because I am unsatisfied, dissatisfied with what I am. So there seems to be a fundamental problem that I want to address. This is the audience that Vedanta is talking to. We need to be very clear. Now, whether it has religious aspects to it, whether it has psychology aspects to it, whether it has understanding aspects to it, whatever it is, through all these means, who is the audience we are trying to address here? Is a person, the fundamental problem that a person is trying to address is sense of dissatisfaction, and the person who is wanting freedom from all the sense of limitation, sense of unhappiness. So the dukkha nivritti is what a person is seeking. Now, this is the person who is being addressed, correct? If this is the audience, now how does Vedanta try to address this? So the Vedanta is trying to address this fundamental problem of self-inadequacy, of self-unsatisfaction, or the limitation, whatever it is. Now the question that the Vedanta is trying to ask is, are you fundamentally having an attribute of a dissatisfied, a limited, unhappy nature, or is this nature of unhappiness or unlimitation incidental to you? Is it superimposed on you? That is the question. If it is intrinsic to you, nothing can be done about it. If the quality of being limited, the nature of being unhappy, dissatisfied, is intrinsic to your very core personality, then there's nothing any Vedanta or anything can come and do. Any amount of money you add to it, any amount of sense of security you add to it through wealth and insurance and emotional bondings, you would still be the same, because your core attribute is one of being a dissatisfied person. Suppose your true nature is not that, then probably there is a solution, right? That is what Vedanta comes and says. When you are in deep sleep, or in moments where you are in touch with, say, nature, you go to a mountains, to a natural scenario, right? You just stand there looking at the beauty of the scenic place. You are happy. Momentarily, you have that happiness. Or suppose you come in touch with some vidya, like you discover something. So then you shout Eureka and run. Nothing has changed. You haven't got more wealth, you haven't got anything, but you are happy. Or you listen to a good joke. Despite everything, you are happy. So there are moments that you see when all this unhappiness and limitations don't seem to be there in those moments. So maybe there is something about your understanding of who you are. That limitation is something probably is superimposed. So Vedanta comes and tells you that by ignorance, because you are avichara siddha vastu, in terms of your conclusions about yourself is avichara siddham, you haven't even really looked into it and you are concluding who you are. So that is the vision the Vedanta is trying to give. So again, let me summarize. The audience is the person seeking freedom from limitation, seeking freedom from dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and the solution that the Vedanta is trying to tell is all this that you take about yourself are not your core nature. Now, if that is what Vedanta is trying to say, that it is not my core nature to be unhappy or limited, then the question will be, then why am I like this? And how do I get out of it? What should I do? Should I do some, prayers? How do I get out of this is the question. I mean, coming and telling that whether it is intrinsic or non-intrinsic doesn't help me. So I need a way to get out of it, correct? So that is where the whole teaching comes into picture. The teaching is about transferring a vision. A vision, we just notice the word, it is the vision. So you are made to see a reality. there is a reality which is different from your current conclusions about yourself. This reality, this vision of this reality, which shows that everything is one and you are non-limited, you are a complete person, that kind of a vision is put up. You are made to get that vision, you are made to see that vision. That is what this teaching is. The teaching is to bring across a vision. Okay. Now, if that is the vision, I need to introduce this because before we get into the actual prakriya itself, because otherwise the context will not be very clear. What is this? What does this prakriya mean? We have to tell. That's why I'm taking some time in explaining this. Now, the vision is that I am total. I am full. There is no limitation in me. What I see as a limitation is all apparent, but not actual. And that is the vision that is intended to be revealed. And how was it to be revealed? It is revealed through words. Why? Because the basic premise is you are limited because of your ignorance. Because you take yourself to be limited, and that is because of an ignorance of your true nature. If ignorance is the cause of your problem, then what can be the solution? Definitely not prayer, not going to a heaven. So what can be the solution to ignorance removal? Only knowledge is the solution. So if knowledge is the solution, and the knowledge is about a totality being you, and that it is going to talk about something unique, and the name given to it is called Brahma. Brahma, because Brihi Vruddhau is the root. Large. And large is typically an adjective, a large mountain, large lake. But here, largeness is taken as a noun itself, Brihat Brahma, Brihat Tamatvat, unlimited. No, I don't know anything like that, other than probably space is the closest. But this Brahma is all encompassing because it is used as a noun. It has to include everything that is there. I don't know anything like that. Now the words can only reveal what is known already. When I say cow, when I say tree, when I say moon, when I say cell phone, they all reveal things which are already known to me. A new thing can't be revealed by a known word easily. You can probably do an imagery and all that. But something like Brahma, how do you say? Sure. So using the word, using words, Vedanta needs to reveal something which is unknown to you. So for doing that, we need what is called a prakriya. That is where prakriya comes into picture. That's why I wanted to give this background in terms of what is a prakriya. Let's look at it. Slightly loaded. The entire Vedanta Shastra itself is a means or a prakriya. And I am not saying this. Gaudapadacharya in Karika says, all these Srishti Srutis are all only upaya. And typically, Prakriya is a Pratikalpana. What is this Pratikalpana? So, there is a Swabhavika Kalpana, and that which is opposed to it is called a Pratikalpana. Swabhavika Kalpana is a natural assumption which we called as Avichara Siddham. We already said that you assume, you take yourself as, you take the Jagat as, you take the Ishvara as Ishvara. I use the word consciously instead of saying God. But even God also is a Swabhavika Kalpana is there. What is God? You have a notion. What is the world? Jagat. You have a notion. What are you? You have a notion, correct? Everybody has. And there is a common shared view. This is not like you alone have. But just because everybody sees it the same way doesn't mean it is truth also. So, just to take your attention from the slide, take it out again. So, what? There is a Swabhavika Kalpana or a common understanding of what is Jagat. Who am I? What is God or Ishvara? There is a commonly held view. Common, but there are variants of it. Right? Each one looks at God in a different way. Each religion also is there, but there is a Kalpana. So, what is this Prakriya? This is called a Pratikalpana. Basically, in order to reveal, so like let me go back to the same point again. What is the attempt of Vedanta or Upanishad or Shastra is to show that you are Brahman. In order to show that you are Brahman, it has to use words. But words can only, like I said, reveal by classifying things, by telling you attributes, something like that. But here, Brahman, there is no attribute. It is so it is inconceivable. You don't see anything which doesn't have any attribute at all. Even space has a dimensionality and sound has an attribute. Wind has an attribute of touch. Every other thing like mountain, fire onwards have a visual thing, right? A form that you can see. Whereas here Brahman doesn't have any of that. All encompassing means what? I don't understand that. Now, in order to show that this Prakriya is a methodology is used, which is a Pratikalpana. It gives a different way of looking at the same thing. That is where this Panchakosha comes into picture. This is one of the ways to relook at it. So there is a methodology by which Vedanta takes you through a particular way of looking at these 5 things. And it also connects you to the total. Okay? Because we are going, the end vision, like I said, is to show that all that is here is Brahman and that is you. If that has to be shown, then the total has to be taken into account. It is called Samashti. You are not an individual, but you are part of the whole. And you are part of the whole at every level. At the physical level, you are part of the whole. At energy level, you are part of the whole. At mind level, you are part of the whole. That is the vision. So that is the Samashtitvam is shown. Now, that is a Pratikalpana. You right now take yourself to be a small limited person with just I am this body kind of thing, right? Now the Pratikalpana is you are not this body alone. Then a Samashti is brought in. That is called Adhyaropa. Basically, the Vedanta is superimposing a certain nature to your body now. And then what it does finally, Apavada just negates it. By negating it, first it shows that, hey, you are seeing, first of all, this body is your limited entity. It is not, it is part of the whole. Now, is it so? Then I look at it that way, then it says no. Just see what is the Atma for this body. Isn't it the energy? Now there is an Apavada. We will see that in the next 1 hour. We will go through that, but I am just giving you context of how it is looked at. This is called Adhyaropa and Apavada. Adhyaropa Apavadabhyam Nishprapancham Prapanchate. The Nishprapancha, which is Brahman, that which doesn't have any Prapancha, that is achieved through this methodology of Adhyaropa Apavada. So it is the methodology, this prakriya of Adhyaropa Apavada, which makes you get this vision of Sarvatma. That is called prakriya, or a method of showing. That is why a lot of these other Vada, the people like Dvaitis and Visishtadvaitis and Tarkikas, so many people who are opposed to this particular Vedantic vision, they get confused because we use terms like Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Shastra uses, not that we use. Then the question will be, aren't they also attributes? How can Srishti be like this? In one place you are saying Srishti became like this, in another Upanishad it says something else. So why is so much of contradiction? Because the Tatparya or essence or commitment is not in showing how Srishti took place. We don't care. In fact, we don't even agree about the Srishti. Srishti is like a Swapna Srishti only. Ishvara Srishti also is only like a dream. So our commitment is not to explain the Srishti, but unless we account for Srishti, unless I account for my physical body, unless I account for my breathing, my energy, I will not be able to recognize what is Brahman. Because you can't leave this away and go to Brahman, because these are also part of Brahman. So unless I explain, for example, I'll give you an example. In the clay world, if I have to explain that what is clay, all that is here is only clay, I have to start with the pot, because unless I account for the pot, unless I account for the plateness or a jarness, I will not be able to recognize the nature of clay, isn't it? So even though there is nothing like a pot other than it being clay, but my understanding of clay is not complete without accounting for what is pot. So to some extent we need to start with the pot, even though finally we have to say in reality there is nothing called pot, there is only clay. Pot is only a name and form. You see it, so it is there. There is a name and form which is there, so you can say pot as though exists. But there is substantive is only clay. Without clay being there, there is no pot. Even when it is pot, it is only clay. All that is possible. So we need to start with that. That is why the Srishti has to be in a way spoken about. We covered this, but I will still take a couple of minutes on how this Upanishad, Panchakosha, like I said, this Prakriya comes as part of the Taittiriya Upanishad, which is part of Shukla Yajurveda. And this Upanishad has typically, where Bhashyakara has given Bhashyam, Acharya has given Bhashyam for 3 valleys. And in the center of it is what is called the Brahmananda Valli, which has an elaborate vision on what is Srishti, how does the Srishti take place, and what is this Pancha Kosha. I want to be very cautious in using the term Pancha Kosha. Let me just tell you this. The way we defined these 5 sheets initially, we are going to relook at that. Okay. So I don't want you to take away that initial slide which showed 5 sheets. There are no sheets or anything. Okay. And in fact, Shastra also doesn't really talk about sheets. There is no one sheet like an onion peeled. You have the physical body within which something, within which something, within which something, and inside there is one small Atma. It is not like that. Okay. Please don't take away that kind of an impression on what is this Panchakosha. We will cover that in the next 55 minutes or whatever we have. Now, what is the context of Brahmananda Valli? It starts with Brahmavida apnoti param tadesha bhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma. So, Brahmavid apnoti param. The person who gets the vision of Brahman or who cognizes Brahman, who understands Brahman, he gains the supreme. And what is that Brahman? It says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We don't have time for that today. But it's a Lakshana Vakya. It defines what is Brahman. So Ataha, so Bhashyakara just concluded about this thing. I just took that quote, the second part of this. Ataha avagamyate asmat vijnanat sarvatma brahma vishayat atyantikaha samsara bhavaha. So the whole context is only to understand or cognize what is Brahman. Our commitment is only towards Brahman, not Panchakosha, nor Maya or anything. Shankara is a Mayavadi, people say. Shankara's commitment is only to throw light on Veda, Upanishad. And Upanishad's commitment is only to show Brahman. There is nothing, no commitment to Maya or Kosha or Jagat or Srishti or anything. But it is used to show what is Brahman. Brahmaviti, because I wanted to take you through how Acharya looks at it. Brahmaviti, Brahma iti Vakshyamana Lakshanam Brihattamatvat Brahma Tadveti Vijanati Brahmaviti Apnoti Param Niratishayam. The one who recognizes Brahma gains the supreme. Okay, so that is where our Lakshya is. The Moksham is the Lakshyam. And for that, Brahma Jnana is the essential thing. But how does this Panchakosha Prakriya or Upaya lead you to Brahman? And this is something that Shankaracharya himself very clearly in the Bhashya has spoken about. Tasya cha Bahya Akara Vishesheshu Anatmasu Atmabhavita Buddhi. So there is a sense of I-ness, Atmabhavita Buddhi. There is a sense of I-ness on what? Bahya Akara Vishesheshu Anatmasu. So for the external things, that which is known through this cognition, when I say this body is what is taken as I. How can I be this body? Because I know it as a this, but I still say this is I am. Therefore, Bhashyakara says Bahya Akara Vishesheshu. The external things In it, you have the Atma Bhavita Buddhi, the I-ness is there. So then what? Analambhya Vishesham Kanchit Sahasa Antaratama Pratyagatma Vishaya Niralambana Cha Kartum Ashakya. That is fine. So, yes, I have this problem. I take all the external things as I am. But then you come and tell me that this is not me, I am everything, all. I don't understand. How do I get there? So to get there to what you are, it is not easy. Sahasa kartum ashakya. It is not easy to just go, leave everything and suddenly I am Brahman. You can't sit and some Nirvikalpa Samadhi you attain and suddenly you become Brahman. Not possible. But you don't have to become Brahman. You are already Brahman. But then I don't recognize. How am I supposed to recognize? It is not easy to just leave the body. I know me as this body. So he says, Analambhya Vishesham Kanchite, without any proper means, without a lever, I can't catapult myself to a knowledge, a vision that I am complete. Therefore, Niralambana cha kartum ashakya. Therefore, what does it do? Drishta Sharira Atma Samanya Kalpanaya Shaka Chandra Nidarshanavati Antah Pravishyan. There is a Shaka Chandra Nyaya. Shakagra Chandra Darshana Nyaya. That's what it is called. Generally, this Tritiya, the third day moon, is considered auspicious to see. But this third day moon is very difficult to see because it is a very thin crescent. So somebody who doesn't know how to spot it on the third day will find it very difficult. Then what do? You start that person from something he can see, he or she. Okay. So suppose there is a tree. So you start with the tree. He can see the tree. He can't see the moon, but he can see the tree, right? So you start with the tree and then take him through to the moon through a path, through the branch. So you see the fourth branch from the bottom and then you go along it. It bifurcates, it forks, and then you take the left fork and then you just go at the top of that fork. There you see that small crescent, that is moon. Then that person understands. Now what has this tree to do with the moon? Nothing. What is this branch to do with the moon? Nothing. What has this person to do with the moon? That also nothing. But you have to take that person through to the moon using this tree that is called Shaka Chandra, Shakagra Chandra Darshana Nyaya. Seeing the moon. Similarly, only this whole prakriya is, I am not saying, Shankaracharya himself says. So the Tatparya is not on the Panchakosha. It is like the branch to take you to Brahman. Therefore, this Panchakosha Prakriya is used in that context. Now, why this Prakriya? Why Panchakosha? Don't we need to answer that? Why not something else? Because that is what we count. When I say I am, these are the locations of error. Where do I error myself? When I ask you, who are you? You either say I am this physical body, or you will say I am alive within this body, because even when the body is there, unless my prana doesn't flow, if I don't have all the sense organs, I am as much as non-existent. Or if I am not breathing anyway, I don't live. So physical body may not be, then it is the prana. Or somebody will say prana can be there like in comatic state, but without a mind or intellect or even an experiencer, enjoyer being there, what is a life? So that is what I am. So these are the locations of human error on who am I. And how does Vedanta use this prakriya? Again, We will read from Shankara only. Acharya himself addresses this. Prakrita Sankhya Puranasya Atmanaha Avyavahitasyapi Bahya Sankhyeya Vishaya Asakta Chittataya Swarupa Abhava Darshanavati Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshana Lakshanaya Avidyaya Annamayadine Bahyane Anatmanaha Atmatvena Pratipannatvat Annamayadi Anatmabhyaha Na Anyaha Hamasmi Iti Abhimanyate Evam Avidyaya Atmabhutamapi Brahma Anaptam Syati. The question is, if everything is Brahman, then how are you saying that I have to reach Brahman? I have to gain Brahman. Bhashyakara Shankaracharya here says, Avidyaya Atmabhutamati Brahma Api Brahma Anaptam Syat. By ignorance it is not there for you. For that he gives a story, Prakrita Sankhya Puranasya, the famous Paramartha Shishya story. 10 people swim across Ganges. The students of Paramartha Guru who said, be careful when you swim, make sure all of you go to the other side. These are all little unintelligent Shishyas. So after crossing, they start to count. They count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where is the 10th guy? The 10th person is missing. The second guy counts. 10th person is missing. Third guy counts. 10th person is missing. So he keeps on. Everybody is searching. Where is the 10th guy? Where is the 10th guy? Everywhere they go around looking at the Ganges. Did Ganges take that person away? All of them are sitting and crying. Then one guy goes that way. He comes and sees what is going on here. These people are crying. He counts. He sees 10 people are there. But these people are saying, no, only 9 are there. He could have gone away. These are idiots. Anyway, nobody has died. So why should I take strain in teaching these days? But he doesn't do that. He uses a methodology to show that you are the 10th guy. By a methodology, that's where you see the stick in his hand. He says 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9. Now keep the stick on the person who is counting. You are the 10th guy. What is that called? Prakriya. What is this person with the stick called? Guru. Shankara gives this in one line. Prakrita Sankhya Puranasya. That's it. Completing the count. Complete the count by including you. But what is that you is the question. That is where this Panchakosha Viveka takes you from Annamayadi Atma to Anandamaya Atma and all the way to the Brahman. Paramarthas Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshana Lakshanaya Avidyaya. You are not seeing it because of ignorance. But to see it, you need this knowledge, and that has to be shown through a methodology of Panchakosha. Okay? So now we have to get into the actual Panchakosha because we are more or less through halfway here. Focus is on negating the location of error. I have already told. Annamayadibhyaha, Anandamaya Antebhyaha, Atmabhyaha, Abhyantaratamam Brahma, Vidyaya Pratyagatmatvena Didirshaishuhu Shastram. Avidyagrita Panchakosha Apanayanena Aneka Tusha Kodrava Vitushikaranena Eva Tadantargata Tandulan. And it goes like that. So by taking away your locations of errors, keep negating it. Anyway, Atma is Swaprakasha. It is you. Nobody has to show what you are. Only thing is, whatever you are by mistake taking as yourself has to be negated. The moment all those are negated, your Swarupa is always available. It doesn't need to be taught. And this Panchakosha is about, Prakriya is about Samashti. This is the last point, and then we will go into the actual Panchakosha, how it is. I use the term Panchakosha, but like I said, this Kosha is Koshavat Achadaniyatvat Koshaha. It is covering as though it is covering by ignorance. It is an ignorance cover, that's all. Not a physical cover, onion peeling. It is an ignorance, an error. That is a cover. And the vichara is always in the context of samashti. We are not talking about this one body in isolation. Okay, I just underlined mukhya prana manucheshtate jeshtante. And when it is going to talk about prana, it is going to say this prana is the mukhya prana, that is, which is the cosmic energy. Anyway, let's now come to the pancha sharira. So what Upanishad does is, it starts, before we come to this, let me stop sharing so that I can take you through some background again. Upanishad said Brahma vidapnoti varam. Then it says tasmadva etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. From that Brahman, which is this Atma, that Brahman, which is all pervading, which is the cause for the Jagat, from that Brahman, this Atma is the word it uses. Tasmadva etasmad atmanaha. So this Atma is Brahman is directly, in fact not even indirectly, directly told there. Tasmadva etasmad atmanaha, from this I, Akasha sambhutaha, the Akasha is born. So Akasha is Karya, effect, and Atma or Brahman is the Karana. And Karana always pervades the Karya. The effect is always pervaded by the cause. If I say pot is born of clay, clay has to pervade the pot. Everything in pot has to be clay. Therefore, when I say Akasha, space is born from Brahman, space has to be pervaded by Brahman. Now it says Akasha Vayu. So Vayu came from Akasha. Why Akasha first? Why Vayu next? Because Akasha has only one guna, which is sound. Vayu has two guna, which is sound as well as touch. Then Agni, which has three gunas, like along with sound and touch, it also has form. So like that, all the pancha five elements are spoken about. Akasha, Akasha Vayu, Vayu Agni, Agni Rapaha, Adya Prithvi, Prithivya Voshadayaha, Voshadibhyaha Annam, Annat Purushaha. From the food comes the man or living being. I wouldn't say living being. The human, Stavara Jangama, all of them, other than the plants. Jangamaha you can take. So from five elements like Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, from the earth comes food. Food always comes from the earth. Even a bird flying on the top has to come here to eat food. Correct? All food comes from the earth. And from Voshadi only. That is the one which converts insentient to eatable. And that is eaten by birds and animals, and then carnivorous and all that. So, but the food alone is this body. Okay, digested food is what this body is, isn't it? That is the context where the Annarasamaya Sharira is spoken about. Let us go to the screen share. The human body is nothing but food transformed, digested. Annat Reto Rupena Parinatat Purushaha Shiraf Panyadi Akritiman Shankara Savai Yesha Purushaha Annarasamayaha Annarasavikaraha. It is the essence of food which has transformed into these hands and head and hair and whatever. Purusha Akriti Bhavitam Hi Sarvebhyaha Angebhyaha Tejaha Sambhutam Reto Bijam Tasmat Yahayaha Jayate Sopi Tatha Purusha Akriti Eva Syat Sarvajati Sujayamananam Janakakriti Niyama Darshanat. Not just human, any animal, anything is formed of food only. Food only is in the form of all these bodies. Nothing else. Nothing. Everything, every part of this body is nothing but digested food only. And everybody, that is why you have the botany, zoology, anatomy, all that, right? Because there is a science around it, because every body is formed in a similar way. It is so earth, Prithvi is giving you nourishment, and that is what is the life forms, all the life forms. So there is a samashti, there is a totality of food, and there is a pakshi kalpana which is done to show this panchabhuta, panchakosha prakriya. There is a bird imagery which is created. So let us say a man, human being, is in the form of bird, like I'll show you on the picture, like this. Okay, this is the basic, what would I say, basic framework on which the other four are superimposed, like prana, manas, and all that. Okay, so for now, just assume it is actually a meditation that Shastra is asking you to do. Contemplate on you as a bird. Okay, and contemplation is to show your samashtitvam. Okay, again, like I said, it is to take you towards Brahman, correct? Therefore, samashtitvam is inherent in each of these 5 contemplations. First one is as though you are a bird, human bird, where your head is its head, right hand is its right wing, left hand is its left wing, and your central body is central body, and your legs are like its tail. Like that you start. Why is it said like that? Why should I contemplate this way? Because not just physical body is not the commitment here, but when I am going to contemplate on prana and all that, there also the imagery will be similar. We will see that. Okay, but why only human is taken? Why can't I take a cow or bird itself directly? Because karma jnana adhikara is there. Therefore, human is considered to be the greatest amongst all living beings. Jantunam narajanma durlabha. Durlabham. Yedat prakritya uttaresham pranamayadinam rupakattva siddhihi. So when we start doing the imagery for prana, manas, and all that, this imagery will be useful. And Bhashyakara Shankaracharya says, Musha nishikta druta tamra pratimavati. When there is a mold and a molten iron is poured in, how does it fill that mold? Like that, prana, manas, and all that fill the physical body. Therefore, whatever is the contemplation on the physical body, you can do a similar thing on the others. Okay. And like I said, it is about samashti. Though we start talking about human, but everything is from the food only, right? Therefore, the contemplation, Shankara again says here, Annadvai praja prajayante, from food only human are born. Yagascha pradivim shritaha, any other life form in this earth is also that way. Okay, this is Upanishad. So, Bhashya also chose this line. Okay, in fact, there is a 2 vyutpattis on what is annam. Adyate articha bhutani. Karma vyutpatti and kartari both are taken. That which eats everything and that which is eaten. So it is called annam. So food is not the one that you eat. Food is also the one that eats you. Because you become food for something else. In Tamil, one particular song is there, Yeri Yanakkennum, Nari Yanakkennum, Bhumiyo Sari Yanakkennum. So when you walk on the road, okay, fire will say this fellow belongs to me. Fox will say this body belongs to me. Earth will say this body, I also have a stake on this. Vulture will say it also has a stake on this body. So many people have stake on it. Because you are a food, you become food. Even when you are living, you are food to so many things, like your mosquito and amoeba and all that. So, adyate aticha bhutani, food, you are part of a total whole food. So, you contemplate. Why do you call it as a contemplation? Why can't I say it is a reality? It is in a way reality, but in a way it is only a matter for contemplation because it is not a complete position. When I just understand a part, my understanding is not complete. Because when I understand the clay, in the understanding of the clay, there is no part. In my understanding of pot, there is clay. But in my understanding of clay, there is no pot. Am I correct? A clay need not be pot. In fact, clay doesn't see any pot. It sees only itself. It says, I have always been this way. I haven't changed a bit, wee bit. Therefore, until you recognize, you cognize what is Brahman, you haven't seen it all. So we can't say Annam Brahma is the final position. Correct? So Annam Brahma is to an extent true. Annam Brahme Divya Janat Tapasa Brahma Vijijnasasva. This Bhrigu came back to Varuna and then says, I have understood Brahman. Brahman means all pervasive. And what is it? It is only food. Because everything eats everything else. Everything is eating, isn't it? Trees are eating something, some compost. Compost comes because of some worms eating something. Worms are eaten by birds, birds are eaten by something else, reptiles are eating something, human is eating something, eating, right? Even inert things, one thing is eating, a fire is eating something else. Time is eating away everything. Kalo sarva bhakshakaha. So the whole world is eating, therefore it is only for me, the eating, Annam is Brahman. That which eats and that which gets eaten is what is the whole world, that is what is Brahman. Then father says, no, go back, go and do some more tapas and come back to me. Means you still haven't got it. You may be right, but not really. Therefore, this Annamaya is, in fact, Shastra doesn't use Annamaya, Anna, Kosha, Annamaya is what is Anna, Parinama. Because digested food is what it is, we said. Now this is a thing for contemplation. So you contemplate that Annam is Brahman. Because when you look at your body, what do you see? Nothing but food. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, potassium. That is what it is. Where are you? It's just food, digested food, converted into minerals. It is born first. Food is what is born first, because unless food was there, how could life have been? Therefore, Shastra says, Annagumhi Bhutanam Jeshtam Prathamajam. It was born before everything else was born. Bhashyakara here, Shankara says, Annamayadinam hi itaresham bhutanam karanam. Annam ataha, anna prabhavaha, anna jivanaha, anna pralayascha sarvah prajaha. Born out of food, sustained by food, go back to food. In fact, Yatova imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yatprayant abhisam vishanti, tadvijijnasasva is what? That from which everything is born, sustained by everything, unto which everything goes back. May you go and find that out, is what was so told to Bhrigu. And he went and came back saying that it is food, because everything is born of food, everything lives in food, everything goes back to food. That's what Bhashyakara Shankara uses here. Anna prabhavaha, anna jivanaha, anna pralayascha sarva prajaha, yasmat chevam tasmat sarvaushadam. It is the greatest medicine. food. Vikshaushadam Ujjatam. In Sadhana Panchakam also, Shankaracharya says Vikshaushadam. Viksha is an aushadam because it treats your hunger, which is the biggest disease. They used to say, no, the biggest disease in India is hunger. And what is the treatment for the disease? Food only. Therefore, Yasmat Chayevam Dasmat Sarvaushadam Sarva Praninam Dehadaha Prashamanam Annam Uchyate. So it is food. But then Upanishad takes a turn. Like Ganga takes a U-turn, no, in Varanasi. Becomes Urdhva Vahini, Uttara Vahini. Right? Like that here it takes a turn and says Anyantaratma Pranamayaha. Idameva Atma, it said first. The central portion of the body is your Atma for this physical body. Initially it says, but now it says Anyantaratma Pranamayaha. That is the Uttaravahini Ganga. It basically takes you to the next level, saying that the prana is the Atma for this body, because without energy, where is this body? So the Atma is shifted from physical to energy. So the inward is Drigdrishya difference. That is the inward. So in my cognition, the more gross is the physical body and more subtle is the energy. Therefore, it is closer to me. It is more subtler. Therefore, it is Anyontara. It is inward. Not because physically it is packed inside. Therefore, it says pervades. Bhashyakara Shankara here says Tasmad Etasmad Etoktad Annarasamayat Pindat Anyaha Vitiriktaha Antaraha Abhyantaraha Atma Pindavadeva Vidya Parikalpitaha Atmatvena Pranamayaha Tena Pranamayena Yeshaha Annarasamaya Atma Purnaha. It is pervaded. The physical is pervaded by energy in form of what? Pranavayu, Apanavayu, Vyanavayu, Udanavayu and Samanavayu. We say Vayu, but it's the distribution system, digestive system, that which takes the blood everywhere, right? And the energy also. So, yeah, we can say heart functions, lung functions, whatever, but eventually the energy gets into all parts, all limbs, everywhere, right? Therefore, Purusha Vidaha. It is as though it is the body, this physical shape, whatever it is, the prana also takes that shape. Therefore, Pranamaya Atma, Purusha Vidaha eva, Purushakaraha eva, Siraf Pakshadibihi, just like the physical body, the prana also is taking this shape. And where is this prana rooted? That we saw earlier in the Samashti Prana. Here it says Purusha Prithvi Devata, Prithvi Pucham Pratishta. But later it also says that it is in the Sutratma, which is the Samashti Prana, because there is a cosmic energy. And the cosmic energy is what is not. See, unless there is sunlight, where is your body's energy? Unless there is a flowing wind and air, where is your prana? Your breathing comes from it, oxygen is taken from there. So there is a totality of energy, isn't it? Unless there is a totality of energy, the individual energy doesn't hold. If there is no sun, there is no day, there is no food. So sun's energy alone is in the form of food in your body, everything. And so many other aspects of energy, whether it is wind energy or whatever, is all part of you. Your blood is circulating. So this whole thing is a samashti only. It's a part of, you are one of the whole. You are a part of the whole. And you contemplate that way. Tadantargatena pranamayena sadharanayena sarvapinda vyapina atmamantaha manushyadeha. Bhashyakara Shankara clearly says that. So it is because it is pervaded by this energy, and now that is the Atma for this physical body. So physical body has its Atma. So you leave the physical body. Now the whole physical prapancha is discounted, isn't it? That is why I said Adhyaropa and Apavada. Initially, it brought the entire physical manifestation as you are part of this whole Anna. And then it says your Atma is Prana Shakti. So the physical is left out. It has taken you from physical to Prana. And that Prana also is Samashti. Therefore, Adhyaropa and Apavada has taken place. Similarly, it takes you from Prana to Manaha. This Prana is Samashti, agreed. But what is the Atma for that Prana? It is Manaha. So it's going to take you there. That's what Shankara here says, Mano evam manomayadivihi purva vyapivihi uttarottara. One second. Uttarottara. Where am I? Uttarottarihi sukshmaihi आनंदमयांतैहि आकाशादि भूतारब्धैहि अविद्यागतैहि आत्मवन्तः सर्वे प्राणिनः. So all life forms are Atmavantah. What kind of Atma? Anandamayantahi, Akashadi, Bhutarabdaihi, Avidyagatehi. All this creation which is due to ignorance, which started from where? Which started from Brahman only. Where? That Brahman which is this Atma from which Akasha started. Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha. What kind of Atma? Etasmad, Tasmad va Etasmad Atmanaha. From that Brahman which is this Atma, this whole creation took place. And that is what is in the form of physical, and that is what is in the form of this prana also. Therefore, Swabhavikenapi Akashadi Karanena Nityena Avikritena Sarvagatena Satyajnanananda Lakshanena Panchakosha Atikena Sarvatmana Atmavantaha Sahi Paramartataha Atma Sarvesham Ityetadapi Arthat Uttam Bhavati. He summarizes. You don't have to go all the way for other koshas. Very beautifully, Shankaracharya says, Akashadi Karanena Nityena, that which is the cause of Akasha onwards, everything else. Everything else includes all prapanchas, correct? Because they are all form of 5 element and elementals only. That Nityena, Avikritena, Sarvagatena, by all pervasive, Satyajnanananda Lakshana, that which is in the Surupa of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that Brahma Surupa, Panchakosha Adhikena Sarvatmana Atmavantaha, because of which is the Atma of everybody. Sahi Paramartataha Atma Sarvesham Ityetadapi Artaduktam Bhavati. It is very clearly understood by this because you are taking it from one to the other. Now after prana, what is the manomaya? Tasmat va etasmat pranamaya tanyontara atma manomaya. Tenaisha purnaha sabha yesha purusha vidayeva tasya purusha vidatam anu ayam purusha vidaha tasya yajureva shiraha riktakshina paksha samottara paksha adeshatma tarvangirasa pucham pradishtha. Then the mind. What is mind? That which is Sankalpa and Vikalpa Atmakam, which is not very determined. That which is in the form of fluctuating is called as mind, because we split the mental activity into two, which is Buddhi and Manaha. Manas is the one which is in the Sankalpa Vikalpa form. Buddhi is in the form of determined Nischayatmika Buddhi. Therefore, we split it into two. The first one, which is in the form of Sankalpa Vikalpa, he says, what is it comprised of? The Shastra says it is all Veda only. Head is Yajurveda, right hand is Rigveda, then the Pakshikalpana also, here it's the same way. Samaveda is left wing and all that. Why Veda? Because the Avritti doesn't need any, you don't think, you don't recollect and all that. The moment you say tell 5 times, you immediately will say. That is a quality, that is an attribute. Suppose I ask you to repeat some mantra, you can just repeat. You can be thinking about something else, but it will go on in your mind. That portion which is able to do that is what is called mind, is what it says. And also the Samashti Veda, the Hiranyagarbha, which is the totality of mind, is called Hiranyagarbha. Like in the, we didn't talk about it, in Annarasa Maya, the Samashti is called Virat. Here it is, then for Prana it is Sutratma. And in the case of Manomaya, it is Hiranyagarbha, and that Hiranyagarbha is in the form of Veda only, the knowledge. So the Samashti of Manas is Veda. That is why Shastra uses Yajureva Shiraha, Rigdakshina Pakshaha, Samottara Pakshaha. And what is the Atma? Adesha Atma. Because I will repeat once I am given an order. Because I am not, see, only Buddhi is the one which is Nishayatmika, right? Manas, we said, is not Nishayatmika, Sankalpa Vikalpa. Then how am I doing it? Because of Adesha. So the heart of it is Adesha. And this Manas is what? Is the Atma for Prana. So Prana, Samashti Prana is Adhyaropam. And that is, Apavada has been done, negated. Adhyaropita Prana is negated. Now mind, that is Samashti mind. You have to negate it. Before that, the Samashti mind, there is Yatovajo Nivartante is coming there, but right now we don't have time for this. And then, like I said, Veda is Sarve Vedaha Yatra Ekam Bhavati Samanasina Atma Iticha Shrutihi Nityatmana Ekatvam Bruvati Rigadinam. Am I projecting it or not? 1 second. So I'm not. Let me just project it. Iticha Shruti Shrutihi Nityatmana Ekatvam Bruvati Rigadinam Nityatve Samanjasasya Tricho Akshare Parame Vyoman Yasmin Deva Adivisve Nishetu Iticha Mantravarnaha. Okay, so the Veda as a Samashti is what is spoken here. Now let us go to what is the Atma for this Manaha? It is the Buddhi. Therefore, Vijnanamaya, Anyantaratma Vijnanamaya. The Vijnanamaya is Atma for Manomaya Sharira. Tena Yeshaha Purnaha, and the Vijnanamaya is pervading this, because Vijnanamaya is the one which is giving the Adesha. And that is also in the form of the bird only, that imagery. And what is the head for this Vijnana? Shraddha. You take a decision to do something based on your Shraddha only. Because I have to study computer science. Why do I need to study computer science? Because I know that is where the job is. I have a Shraddha. Shraddha of what? That I will get the job if I study computer science as a subject. And the Shraddha is, by studying computer science, I will get the job. Now that Shraddha is the Shiras for Vijnanamaya. And then Ritam is one wing, Satyam is another wing. Ritam and Satyam, there is a slight difference. Shastra itself, Shankaracharya says, like, we'll give one example. Suppose somebody comes and asks you how to go to, New Delhi from Agra. Suppose I think New Delhi is to the south of Agra, southeast of Agra. That is wrong, but that is what I think. So, if I tell somebody that you have to go south east instead of saying northwest, for example, did I tell a lie? Not from my mind perspective, because I didn't consciously want to tell a lie or evade. This is what I thought was correct and I said. So that is one form of truth. The other form is the truth itself, which is Delhi is to the northwest of Agra. I'm just saying, okay. So that is Satyam and Ritam. This is a slight difference which is shown. Then Yoga Atma, Yogaha Samadhanam is what Shankaracharya says. The mind has to be in a equipoised, balanced, then only it can take decision. And what is it rooted on? On Mahat Tattvam, again Samashti, which is in the form of Hiranyagarbha. So the peaceful disposition is Yoga. Let us read little bit of Shankara Bhashya here, because we are doing the whole thing in the context of Shankara Bhashya only, correct? Nischaya Vijnanavataha hi kartavyeshu artyeshu purvam shraddha utpadyate. Only when I know exactly what is to be done, I will get the shraddha. Sa sarva kartavyanam pratamyat siraha iva shiraha, because it is the foremost for any action. Therefore, it is considered as the head. Okay, yogaha yukti samadhanam atma iva atma atmavataha hi yuktasya samadhanavataha angani iva shraddadini yatartha pratipatti kshamani. Only if I have a poise, peaceful disposition, then all the other things will help me take the decision and make an action, is what he says. And Mahattattvam is the Pratishtha, because that is the Karanam for this entire this entire Swarupa. Okay. And Bhashyakara Shankara concludes here on this one saying, Karanam hi karyanam pratishtha yatha vriksha virudham prithvi sarva buddhi vijnananam cha mahattattvam karanam tena tad vijnanamayasya atmanaha pratishtha. This vijnanamaya atma is rooted in mahattattvam, which is Hiranyagarbha. Okay, and when you do this upasana, it also says, if you, so all this is upasana, like I said, you need to contemplate on this. And if you contemplate on it, what does it say? It says, leaving sharire papmano hitva sarvan kaman samashkriti. Leaving everything in the physical body and pranamaya and manomaya, water, because all the papas and the struggles are in the physical only, physical and mind mostly. So leaving it all in those body, this person gains everything. Tasmat sarira abhimana nimittat sarvan papmanaha sharira prabhavan sharire eva hitva vijnanamayam brahmaswarupapannaha tatstan sarvan kaman vijnanamayena eva atmana samashkrute samyak bhunte. The person who contemplates that I am this vijnanamaya sharira gains everything, is what it says. The Shastra says this. And finally, we have what, 10 minutes. Let's come and conclude this. What is the Atma for this Vijnanamaya? The Atma for this Vijnanamaya is Anandamaya. Vijnanamaya, okay, if you have to say what is this Vijnanamaya, it's not only taking decision, it is also the doership. The doership is also in Vijnanamaya only. I am the doer, because I am taking decision. So then the doership, all the guilt and hurt with respect to the doer is because of that only. So the doership is with the Vijnanamaya, and the enjoyership is Anandamaya, the one that experiences the benefit accruing from what the doer does is Anandamaya, and that is Atma for the doer. The enjoyer is Atma for the doer, because the doer does things. Why do I do things? Because I want to enjoy. Why do I take a bike and go all the way to Himalayas or whatever, some mountain? Because I want to see the enjoyer in me come out. So for the enjoyer to experience something is where the doer is doing thing. And that is Anandamaya. Ananda, and that Ananda is not Swarupananda. It is in the form of Priyam, Modam and Pramodam, different kinds, variants of slight happiness. And that slight happiness also has its root where? In Ananda Swarupa, which is Param Brahma. Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. So your happiness, your enjoyership is rooted in your Swarupa, because Vishaya Sukham is also gaining its Sukham only from Brahmavastu. Therefore, this Brahmavastu is Pucham. So it has taken you from Annamaya all the way to Brahman, isn't it? We started with Annamaya, and the Atma for Anna Samashti. Your body is part of Anna Samashti, and the Atma for it is Pranan, which is part of Prana Samashti, and the Atma for the Pranan is Manaha, which is again Hiranyagarbha, the Samashti Manaha, and the Atma for it is Vijnanam, which is also part of Samashti, and Atma for that Vijnanam is your Ananda, and that Ananda is rooted in Brahma. Its existence is in Brahma, because the Vishaya Sukham, when a subject-object duality ceases, when I get something that I have been longing for, I wanted to buy a new iPod or iPad, whatever, or iPhone, status release. Till then, till I get it, I'm unhappy. The moment I get it, I experience an happiness because I suspend all my wants at that moment and I am resting in my Swarupa. And that Swarupa is nothing but Brahman and Brahma Bucham Pradishtha. So all the Vishaya Sukham is rooted in the Swarupa Sukha, Swarupananda. Therefore, this Annamaya, which is in the form of Moda Pramoda, is Anna Vikara only. It is not Swarupananda. Shankara clearly, if you see this, Anandamaya iti Karyatma Pratitihi. The Anandamaya is Karyatma only, the created Atma, not the Swarupatma. Why? Adhikarat. Because the topic of discussion is about Karya. Mayat Shabdacha Anandamayaha is used. Annadi Maya hi Karyatmanaha Bhautika iha Adhikritaha Tadadhikara Patitascha Yam Annamayaha Mayatcha Anna Vikararthe Drishtaha Atra Vikararthe Drishtaha. This, it is a change. Yata Annamayaha ityatra, just like Annamaya, Anandamaya also is a Vikara only. Also, Tasmat Karyatma Anandamayaha Pratyetavyaha Sankramanachya. The person crosses it is used. Anandamayam Atmanam Upasankramati. So crosses it. Crosses this Anandamaya Atma means then it can't be Paramatma. So therefore, this also is within the Karya Prapancha, the created. Therefore, Sankramanam is possible only if Paratma is beyond it. Annamaya Atmanam Upasankramati. Nacha Atmanaha eva Upasankramanam. Atma cannot be transgressed. Only all these errors can be transgressed. Therefore, Para Brahma, this Priyamoda Pramoda, that Ananda is not Swarupa, but it is only a variant. Therefore, Ucham of everything, the root of everything is Brahman. Evam cha kamo upashama utkarsha apekshaya satagunottarottarottkarsha anandasya vakshyate evam cha utkrishymanasya anandamayasya atmanaha paramartha brahma vijnana apekshaya brahma parameva yad prakritam satyajnanananta lakshanam yasya cha pratipatyartam pancha annamayadi koshaha upanyasthaha yaccha debhyaha abhyantaram yena cha te sarve atmavantaha tad brahma bucham pradishta Devacha sarvasya avidya parikalpitasya dvaitasya avasana bhutam advaitam brahma pratishtha. Therefore, everything from you start from physical body, keep contemplating, find the Atma, and finally it is all rooted in, your Swarupa is rooted in Brahman, and that Brahma, Ucham Pradishta, is in which everything else is. So it started from the creation, Akasha came from Brahman, and then you see that whole circle completing. Tasmatva etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhuta. So the creation starts from Brahma, then your akasha vayu, everything comes, then your physical body comes, then you look at this physical body, then you go inside in terms of your cognition, and then you go and find yourself ending up in Brahma Bucham Pradishta. So all that is here, nothing but Brahman. This is a prakriya, this is a methodology. That methodology is what is one of the methodologies, Panchakosha Prakriya. Like that, there are many methodologies. So I have spoken about, taken very detailed session. Some recordings are there in my Taittiriya Upanishad sessions. At almost 20 classes, we have covered this Panchakosha Prakriya. Anybody who wants more detail can refer to it. That we will conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Kalyan Kumarji, it was just wonderful how you unfolded the entire Prakriya. It was great listening to you. We have 3 more minutes and we will take 2 questions that are here and we will conclude the session. There is a question. These Pancha Prakriya are 5 verticals to be purified. If one is weak, other 4 are strong, and 4 are weak, one is strong. What is the approach?
Okay, so the question is more in terms of the yogic practices. So I have also seen some of these kind of interpretations where these five koshas are literally taken as five aspects of human body, and then people do some kind of yogic practices to purify it and all that. I am not very well versed on it, because I was looking at it more from what Shankaracharya has looked at it, more from revealing what is Paratma here. So rather than answering this with my limited knowledge, I think I should just claim ignorance on yogic practices around this and leave it there. And I don't think I'm qualified to answer from a purification perspective. Yeah, I know I've seen online, there are Ayurvedic practices and a lot of those things that they talk about, but I don't think I have knowledge to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Kalyanji. And there is another question. What is Samashti form of Anandamaya called?
Okay, Samashti of see, the Samashti is always, if you see that in the Panchakosha, the whatever is the Pucham is where the Samashti is spoken about. Okay, so whether it is Annamaya or Manomaya, wherever, the Pucham is where the Pratishta is. That is why if you saw the picture also, I have put something like a pedestal, right, on which it is all rooted. So for Anandamaya, we clearly saw Brahma Pucham Pratishta. So the Samashti of Ananda is derived from Swarupa only. Every Ananda, like I concluded in the talk, every Ananda comes from your source, your own Swarupa only, even the Vishaya Sukha. Because at that moment, when you are experiencing a Vishaya Sukha, you are suspending, you are wanting me. I am a wanting me all the time. I want this, I am unlimited, whatever, right? But in certain moments, like the Vidya Sukha, right, Archimedes and all that we read, right, at that moment they suspend wanting me, because they come in touch with the subject-object division goes. At that moment, the subject and object have come together. The moment subject-object comes together, that means you are complete. The subject-object is what divides you from your Swarupa. And moment your subject-object duality goes, even momentarily, that is where your Swarupa comes out. So the Vishaya Sukha also is in a way experiencing your Swarupa. So that means the Pucham for Ananda or Samashti of Ananda is Brahman. Nowhere else we can do.
Thank you so much, Kalyanji. And viewers, with this, we conclude yet another session of